Hey, sports fans, this is Robert with WTP Sports Dudes coming live to you tonight, talking some college football, just sharing our thoughts and opinions on the first 3 weeks in college football. Who's out there shining, who's out there not looking so good, and who's trying to make some moves so that they can become better than what they have been the first 3 weeks. So I got my man Level Up Sports 10 here with us today.
How's everybody doing this evening?
I'm doing good, bro. I'm glad you're doing good. We talked a little bit earlier today, and man, we really trying to get this thing going with our videos and just trying to share as much information about sports as we can. Trying to connect with as many people in Columbus, Ohio, that we can, so that we can get those guys on our channel, so that we can interview them, so that
Yeah,
the public can see what's going on in Columbus with our athletes. That's very important to us. Both of us played sports when we were little kids, middle school, high school. Even after that, we played in adult sports and all that good stuff. I think I stopped playing basketball. I'm 55 now. I stopped playing when I was 53. You know, my knees started swelling up, so I had to get out the game. You know what I'm saying?
a
I
long
want to catch
time.
my grandkids. I don't want to be chasing that basketball no more.
Definitely.
So
Appreciate you
other than
having
that,
me as
yeah,
well.
yeah. And listen, y'all, I really would like for y'all to look up Level Up Sports 10 on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel. My man Mossberg has been putting out videos. So when you get a chance, please go to YouTube and subscribe to his channel.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm likewise as well with WTP Sports. We've known each other for a long time, and we definitely trying to do a lot, get a lot of people out there. I've spoke with a few people about the show, and looking forward to actually having those people on the show. For interviews, talks, just even their perspective of sports. Today as well. Some of them are coaches, and some of them are players as well. And like he said, we just dibbling and dabbling into a lot of thoughts in the sports world, how we see things, in our own opinions, and just stepping out on faith and just doing what we love. And I'm glad to have someone as Mr. Brown, like my uncle, like a brother, you name it, as a mentor, and getting this thing started with me and getting me into it. And like he said, I still play. I just stopped playing recently to an injury, but it's just the love of the game, and just is just a way of giving back myself and him as well. And we just want to be able to get these athletes from our own city out there to be seen more than what we know and what some may know, so the world also know what we have here in our own city.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm glad you was able to mention that. We're just really passionate about, sports and people really. Sports is just a secondary thing. We're more interested in the people than we are, sports. Now, we always interested in the sports, but it's the people that really make the sport. So that's our passion, is the people.
Agreed.
So Mossberg, let me ask you this. Now,
Mhm.
you watched that game last night, NFL. Even though we're gonna talk mainly college today, what did you think about that game last night between the Eagles and the Falcons?
I was I didn't get the last 6 minutes, so I was able to get up and watch the last 6 minutes of the game, and I was so into the game itself. I didn't understand why Philadelphia didn't kick a field goal. That was one thing I didn't understand. I understand going for it, whatnot, but why did they not kick a field goal to put some more points on the board? I think to give it more of a decision on Atlanta's behalf to do. But we talked about Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins must have been hearing what we was talking about, because he came out and proved us a little wrong. No pressure on him, and he threw that ball like an MVP yesterday, even though it was weak early. Just to get that win, I think in Philadelphia showed a lot. And your man Bijan Robinson, straight out of Texas, as we talk in college football, he was a beast out there. He averaged about 6.9 a carry, and that definitely carried the load along with what was it? Logan. catching the ball as well as the other receiver. They was definitely looking good. And the defense, we talk about defense. Their defense definitely stepped up in key moments, and that's just a tough catch that Saquon, we know he can catch, that he did drop. He said what he said about it, but we all as athletes know some things happen. You miss layups. So that's just a part of the game, and Atlanta just left it all on the field.
Yeah, I was very impressed with Atlanta's defense, man. I did not know that they had a defense that solid, man.
Yeah.
Even though Barkley was able to get some runs
Mm-hmm.
and he got some yardage, their defense, especially in the red zone, is really bend, don't break, man.
Yeah.
And they made Philadelphia kick field goals when Philadelphia should have been getting touchdowns.
And they tackle.
And they, oh my God, were they tackling? I mean, they were not allowing guys to get past that first guy a lot of times.
Yeah.
And I was very impressed with that.
Definitely. What else did I notice out of that? Because I took the it was the what it was for me also was the I didn't realize, I had looked on the show this morning, and Kirk Cousins, that's his 15th go ahead fourth quarter overtime touchdown in the last 5 seasons, and that's the most of any quarterback. And I'm like, Cousins must, you just, I guess you got to put Cousins in them situations and you will see the best of him in ways. But I think it's that system and that position and that time and that 2-minute frame that definitely fit for Cousins. And we all see what quarterbacks could do in the system. The system works, and it works for that quarterback. Good things like that can happen as well.
Yeah, I know. I had dogged him on our earlier video today. I was like, man, this guy's stealing money, bro. You know,
we all felt that way.
Yeah, when he went 20 or 29 for 241 yards and 2 touchdowns, that's all you can ask for your quarterback week in and week out.
Week in, week out.
I remember when was it Ray Lewis, when they got Steve McNair, and he asked Steve McNair, how many points you gonna get us a game? He said, I'm good for 24 points a game. He said, man, if you get us 24 points a game, we go undefeated, we win the Super Bowl.
We got you.
You know what I'm saying? And anytime a quarterback can get you them kind of stats week in and week out, you probably gonna win a lot of games.
A lot of games, definitely.
A lot of games.
Yeah.
So I was impressed with Kirk Cousins. Now, hopefully, he can keep doing it. Now, their running game was really solid. In that game.
Yeah.
With Bijan and number 25. I can't remember his name.
I didn't get his name down. Because he averaged about, I want to say he averaged a little over half of what Bijan averaged, around about 4.3, 5.3 yards on his carries.
Yeah.
So when you got a ground game that's just doing that within itself, and I think that's just something to deal with. And we've been noticing that with a good ground game, and it's decent, and it's going to keep the defense guessing. That makes it better for the offense to move that ball and pick and choose when they want to make plays. So I think that showed yesterday most of the game, if not the complete game overall for Atlanta. And it definitely showed in that drive for him to sit back and the offensive line to protect him and him to just sling that ball any kind of way he wanted to. Because at that point, the Eagles didn't know if he was going to drop back, maybe halfback draw to Bijan, or even get it to him out on the side, because he definitely got his touches last night.
Yeah, he definitely got his touches. I think he entered the game with 19 touches with like 22 yards of total offense, which, out of a running back, that's all you can ask for, especially nowadays in the NFL. They going with 2 backs carrying that load. There ain't no more times where you're going to get a guy carrying the ball 30 times a game. It's going to happen sometimes, but very rarely.
Agreed.
Yeah. All right, so let's get into some college football. So far, we have some changes and some movements in the AP Top 25, and I believe it might be another non-Power 5 team might be in the Top 25 now. And we got some good games coming up this weekend that we're going to talk about on Thursday. But what's your biggest surprises so far in this early season of the college football?
I would say, man, it's quite a few surprises definitely out there. And if you want to say power four conference, and I would say the surprise to me, I would definitely say, is the USC Trojans coming up this weekend with a big game in Ann Arbor. I think all eyes are on the Trojans this weekend coming up. Not to mention, I've talked about him, I think, every week, man. I was definitely happy to see my man Arch Manning have the type of day he had. I don't know what it is about that kid. I've always loved his uncles, but to see him and learning and actually going out and loving what he do, putting it to work, I don't know. I just love what I see.
Yeah, yeah. I agree with you on that. The USC Trojans, man. I did not. Of course, at this point, I had them being 2-1, but I
Yeah,
definitely didn't have them being undefeated. I
yeah,
definitely thought they was going to lose that first game against LSU because I thought LSU would be way too physical for them. But
right.
LSU tried to use their physicality too late in the game, and at that point, USC's confidence was already there. Their defense was clicking, and that Moss kid at the quarterback was balling, man.
Baller,
So
definitely.
that was definitely a surprise. I wasn't necessarily surprised at what Art did because I knew he could ball out, but I didn't know that he was that fast.
And I've been watching him, man. It's like even when he it's like he look at the line like Peyton and Eli, but when he get that football, his movement is, you don't know what kind of step drop he making because he moves so fast, and it's like he knows where he's going. But when he ran that football, I said he looked like a running back when he ran that football. That's dangerous.
Yeah. They clocked him at 21 miles an hour, bro.
Yeah,
A
that's fact.
quarterback. A
That's fact,
quarterback. He's 6'4", like 225,
man.
running a freaking
Right.
21 miles an hour, man. I mean, he made those defensive backs, those safeties, look like they were slow. And now I understand it was UTSA, but still, those
Yeah,
guys should be able to run and catch a quarterback.
definitely. And I felt the same way. I definitely felt the same way. And just the moves he was putting on, that's moves you see running backs put on. You see slot receivers and receivers put on an open field to get to the end zone. You don't see a quarterback named Manny that's going to do that. And that's the thing. I'm like, it's a whole nother episode with this Manning kid.
Yeah, he's going to get the start, I think, this week. I don't know about the following week against Mississippi State, but definitely this week he's going to get the start. He's going to probably get treated like Quinn would be treated. He's going to probably go all the way through the third quarter or part of the third quarter, and then they're going to bring in Trey Owens.
Yeah.
And then Trey Owens get him some rest since he's going to be the backup. And if anything happens to Ark, he got to be ready to roll.
Got to
And
be
he's
ready
a
to
true
roll.
freshman, so that's going to be a tough one.
Definitely. I think another team I've been looking at, because I know we talk a lot about defense, is Pitt. I like the way Pitt's defense been playing, and it's they have a stout secondary, and they have a secondary kid from here, Raheem Bowes, and just the way their secondary, they hawk the ball, they tackle, and they're fast, and I can't remember what conference they're in this year, but they're one of those 3-0 teams. I think that's a team to watch throughout the rest of the season, just because of the fact you never know how that conference could go. I think that's in a conference with Central Florida and a few other teams, but I think Pittsburgh is a team that definitely can make some noise, along with I think Duke was the sleeper team I had. I've been liking the way Duke been looking as well still. And it's so many teams this year. I definitely like the way college football, I would say, the transfer portal has made it grow, I would say, a lot more evenly. You know, it's a lot of say so about the transfer portal, but the thing I definitely like is you're seeing a lot of players that you didn't hear about prior to that's really stepping up and doing a great job and being on that field and playing and being a name for their university and their team within itself.
Yeah. Another thing I've noticed this year is if you got a veteran quarterback, he can make young wide receivers look good.
Yeah.
And if you got veteran wide receivers, they can make a young
Young
quarterback look
quarterback
good.
look good.
And you're seeing a lot of that in college football this year. Just vice versa. The young quarterback with veteran receivers balling, and then
Yeah.
you got young receivers with veteran quarterbacks balling.
Yeah.
It just
Just all around. Yeah. The mixture
yeah,
is good. I think it
yeah,
gives that because I noticed with Ohio State, for instance, with the big freshman Jeremiah Smith being there, I noticed just watching him in the first few games, I thought to myself, if they came out and got what is it? What is his name? The other receiver, the main receiver, the senior. If they get him the ball a few times, I think it will open up for Smith. But the thing I do notice is they both communicate with each other to build that bond. Like you said, it just that experience, it helps each other get better at different things that, helps their game overall and it brings to the team to have the play on the field successful on both ends of the both ends, offense and defensively.
yeah. And that first game, Ohio State, it was like they was highlighting Jeremiah Smith. But in the
Yeah,
second game against Western Michigan, you seen they was going to is it Mbuka?
and Buka, that's what it is. I
They was
almost said
going, they was going
Jigba
to him.
and
Yeah,
Buka.
yeah, yeah.
That's what I was thinking. So I definitely think when they do that, that definitely opens the doors for them. And just even the same thing with Texas. I know they definitely spread the ball around, and that freshman receiver, he fits right in with them. Same thing I noticed even with Alabama, and I think even Colorado has a young receiver, and how their receiver room is, and how they all gel together. I noticed with Jackson Dart and Ole Miss with him being a senior and how he gels with some of the younger receivers, and they have that I think upper class tight end, which kind of gels everybody together too. So a lot of that definitely helps.
Yeah. I was you had mentioned Alabama, and I was thinking about Alabama earlier today
Hmm.
and how well they've been playing offensively because their offensive line has been playing way better than they played last year, and they
Yes.
actually have some decent receivers. My concern with Alabama is their defensive backs. They got some young defensive backs, man. And I don't know if they're going to come across a team that's going to challenge those young players. I'm going to tell you right now, if they were to have Texas on their schedule, they would be in trouble
Yeah,
because
definitely.
they're
Y'all
going to take
don't.
advantage of those young
Y'all
DBs.
don't. That's right. Y'all do that home and home. I forgot.
Yeah, so we had our home and home with them last year and the year before.
Right.
Um, but I'm wondering, like, because I think they might play Tennessee.
Think they
That's
do
going
got
to be
Tennessee.
yeah, that's going to be a test for them. And then I don't know if they play Georgia, but I don't know if Georgia's going to test them down the field.
I don't. Yeah.
Carson Beck hasn't been looking that good, man.
I've been looking at that. He's number 43 in QBs. He was six. I mean, he has no interceptions, 7 touchdowns, but only 680 yards.
Yeah,
So I definitely don't think he'll be able to pass the ball. I think Alabama try to pressure him. That's one thing, is he really haven't showed his footing this year compared to the last couple of years as far as an escaping and even throwing that ball. And it kind of shows not having Bowers at that security blanket to get rid of that ball and get them yards after catch as well.
yeah. One of my concerns for Texas too is that if Texas has been giving up some rushing yards, man, and so when they play, I mean, they gave up to, excuse me, they gave up 100 yards rushing to that back from who they played the first game of the season. They played
Uh,
what's the name of that team they played? Colorado State.
Colorado State.
They gave up 100 yards rushing to that running back.
Okay.
And then last week they gave up a 57-yard run to that guy. And teams have just been able to run pretty effectively on Texas. Now, Michigan didn't do so because Michigan abandoned the run because they got behind so early. But had they not gotten behind early, they would have been able to run the ball, man.
Run the ball.
And Texas is going to really have to get out in front on some teams because when they play Georgia, when they play Kentucky, teams that like to pound the rock and it's going to run aggressively, if they don't get ahead early and make them teams have to throw the ball, Texas can face some trouble, especially if they can condense that game to 7 or 8 possessions.
Yeah, and I noticed that the run game definitely does that, condense that game. And I noticed by some games that we've seen how the play call is. Some teams having 20, 30 more plays than the opposing team, but that team that's having those plays are running the ball effectively, and is giving that clock time to move, and it's taking away that ball possession. So that'd definitely be something to watch as well throughout the season. And just my thoughts on that. I mean, I definitely like what you said on Texas with that. One thing I noticed, it seemed like Texas step up when it comes to that run defense. When it comes to certain teams, they make it tough for them to where they have no choice but to abandon a run in a way. Let's say for like when they played Michigan, when they played Alabama last year, they stepped up and they put people in the box or disguised the blitzes to make it hard for you to run. Or if they were running, they audibled out of that run, that's just a good coaching, I would say, in games like that as well. So, I mean, I definitely agree with you on that. I'm going to definitely keep a look at that too as well.
Yeah. Texas's linebacker coach, Coach Nansen, he's brought some different philosophy to it to help PK out, the defensive coordinator, with some different packages and stuff. And that's really been helpful for them, especially not letting teams score a lot of points on them. And I think that's truly due to Nansen being on that coaching staff now and just showing PK some different things he can do with the defenses that he's been running lately. And those guys have caught on pretty quick too.
Yeah, that's one thing. I mean, the class they came in with, I think last year was very good. And for them to be as young as they are this year, coming in and playing is even way above the ceiling. I mean, you can't ask for nothing more as a coach. I wish we could get the same thing going to Doak Campbell. That's one thing. It's just been tough this year. I've definitely been unimpressed, you name it, man. It's kind of that type of season, I guess, in Tallahassee for us this year. It's tough to watch. I was thinking that the quarterback would definitely make a change because I was already looking for Brock Glenn to come in, but when they said we would have DJ, I was like, okay, maybe we can control something and even move a little higher in the rankings because we got a quarterback, and having a quarterback is different, but I don't know what it is that's going on down there this year.
Yeah, well, the coach said that it's because of DJU that they've even been in the games that they've been in. And I'm like, I don't know what football you've been watching, Coach.
Definitely. You haven't been watching the same games. Maybe some games from when he played last year.
Maybe that was just coach speak, but I'm like, dude, he has not been playing good football for y'all, man. And I think it's going to take a change in coaching in order for Florida State to go ahead and right that shit, man. Because right now, he got players on his team that they're not bought into the system, man.
Definitely.
And they feel like they probably need somebody new in there, some new flavor, so that they can get some guys to believe in Florida State again. Because right now, it's not looking good. Yeah, it's not looking good at all.
It's like watching the games. Like, I'm used to watching a game in Florida State to where you got them chopping, you got the crowd into it, you got the sideline. Everybody on the sideline is even into the game, even the coaches. And I agree with you. I think it's time for a change in Tallahassee. We got to get the program back to where Bobby Bowden had it. Jimbo Fisher definitely got it going, in a different direction. We at least got to that 34 win straight, national championship, those type of things. That's what Florida State is used to having: winning seasons, national championship berths, and right now it should be playoff berths. And we're not having that. So that's definitely not a good thing as a fan.
Yeah, yeah. I was looking at this NFL list, man, and I was thinking about the college quarterbacks who are probably going to be coming out this year. And I was looking at the teams in the NFL who are probably going to be looking for quarterbacks. If you think about it, the Patriots are probably going to be looking for a quarterback. The Giants, the Panthers, I don't know, the Browns might be, man. I mean, they got a lot of money invested in Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
The Raiders, maybe. But that's about it.
Man.
That's about it. Everybody else has either a young rookie quarterback that they drafted last year that they're waiting to progress behind a veteran. Okay. Some of them are even starting right now, but then the other ones got a solid veteran quarterback.
Wow.
So this draft this year is not loaded with a lot of quarterbacks, though. It's not a whole lot.
I agree.
Not top-notch ones anyway. You
right.
got Dart, so-called Carson Beck, but Carson Beck might end up coming back for another year.
Yeah.
If he's not looking good, he might have to come back another year. And then you got Ewers, and you got who else out there?
Shador, Cam Walker.
You got the guy from Notre Dame, Riley. Possibly.
Riley from Notre Dame, possibly.
But it's only maybe 5 or 6.
Yeah, it's very slim. Very slim.
Very slim. And out of those 5 or 6, maybe only 2 or 3 might be like that somebody would draft in the first round.
Yeah, I agree. It's a tough position that's not getting, and when they get picked, as we seen with Bryce Young, for him to be demoted, that lets you know when you got to work out. You got to do what you need to do to take heed to that quarterback position, because now in the NFL they don't seem to be playing no games. They put you down, sit you on the bench, and I guess it's unless you got some money invested in you.
Yeah.
Other than that, man, that's tough.
And Carolina's probably going to get the number 1 draft pick. They're probably going to be the worst team in the NFL this year. So they're probably going to get that number 1 pick, which means Bryce Young is out of there. He's out of there. He's out of there. And I know they're glad that he's still on his rookie contract. So they really ain't.
They're not going to lose nothing.
Him an arm and a leg, maybe ship him somewhere else. And like we've been saying before, he might go to a system that fits him. You know, and he might be able to ball out because he was a heck of a college football player. I just don't understand why it hasn't transferred to the NFL.
I agree. And it's sad for that because I like watching him on Saturdays. Different type of breed of a player. And I felt, he could kind of get things in the direction of how Stroud was moving. And, it's good to see Stroud doing what he's doing. And like you said, we just hope that if that's the case, that he could find a good system that he could fit in, and it'd be a better system for him and to show his strengths other than his weaknesses.
Yeah. I was glad that Stroud finally realized that I need to use my legs a little bit more often than just staying in that pocket. That last year that he played against Michigan, man, he had running lanes and he wouldn't take them.
No.
And then when he got into the game against Georgia, he was doing it.
He was running.
Now in the NFL, he's doing it. I was like, dude, if you would have done that against Michigan, you would have gave them problems because they was giving you running lanes because they knew you weren't going to run.
The whole time. And I was definitely surprised because he could have probably ran 2 touchdowns the distance. And I was just like, what is going on, man?
Yeah.
But definitely good to see him. It's crazy that him and Nico, they played against each other in that game, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
For them to be sitting there with each other throwing that ball. I mean, for him to catch the ball, Nico, and him to be throwing it to him in Stroud, that's just I know they joke about that game all the time, man.
Yeah. That's the one thing that's so good about the NFL, man, is once those guys make it, they ain't even talking. I mean, even when you talk about Ohio State, Michigan, if you got Ohio State, Michigan players on the same NFL team, they like
Yeah,
brothers now. You know what I'm saying?
that's
They
it.
ain't feuding
Yeah,
about nothing. They like, no, we out here trying to make this win, get this win for our team. We ain't
yeah,
feuding about you playing at Ohio State, not playing at Michigan. They ain't
right.
even worried about that kind of stuff. So I like that NFL fraternity, especially for that reason, that those guys become brothers even though they were rivals in college.
Exactly. Definitely something good to see. That's the I think that's what I subscribe to a lot of different things, and I watch a lot of stories on things like that as well, just to see how outside of football, how some of the guys are just, whether it's they together with their families or just doing a podcast together and having that time to just bond outside of football. And like you said, it's nothing about times where they fussing about rivalry back then. If anything, they laugh about it, which is a great thing to see definitely every day.
Yeah, definitely. So let's talk a little bit about each one of these conferences and how things are starting to pan out. Let's start off with the Big 12. And I know we don't really spend a whole lot of time on the Big 12 because they're just not that interesting. But you know, but just thinking about some of the teams that they have there, because we really did think Arizona was going to be one of those teams, man. And then
Yeah,
they take it on the
definitely.
chin to Kansas State. And we really weren't thinking real highly about Kansas State. We were thinking more Utah, Oklahoma State. Now
Yeah.
Kansas State is in the picture,
Hmm.
and we don't know what Utah gonna look like without Cam Rising. So it's
Yeah,
just all over the place right now. You got any
definitely.
other thoughts about that?
Um, that was I totally agree. I was looking at Arizona as my team out of the Big 12. Cam Rising's injury, Kansas State winning, and teams just it's still like the Big 12 is that conference that we just don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah,
You know, every week is something different in the Big 12 that whether it's a team winning or whether it's a team losing. I forget which one of those teams are undefeated. Let me try to see real quick. Um, it's only I think a few that's undefeated, and UCF, Kansas State, Utah, Arizona State, BYU, and
BYU undefeated. Oh my God.
yeah, BYU undefeated. And then you got Oklahoma State and Iowa State. That's undefeated.
What?
So it's like, and they still all got tough games to play in the Big 12.
Oh yeah.
They still all got to play each other. And it's like, still looking at it now, it's like Arizona could still win a Big 12 being 2-1. So I'm still gonna stick with Arizona. I'm gonna just stick with them just because, even though it's a conference that we feel is up in the air, I'm gonna just stick with Arizona just because I picked them early.
Yeah. The surprise to me is Kansas, man. And I'm sitting there like, dude, everybody in the world was picking y'all to be up there in the Big 12, man.
Yeah,
This was y'all's year. Y'all got y'all's quarterback back who's got a lot of experience. I mean, you
they
got a good play caller. You got a good running back. You got a
yes,
solid defense.
they got a
It was
whole.
just 1-2. I was like, come on, man. Yeah, that was definitely a shocker for me. Central, excuse me, Central Florida being undefeated is a
Yeah,
shocker for me too.
that comeback last week against TCU was crazy. It was
Yeah,
definitely crazy because I think Beach get a catch, and then I think dozed off and thought the game was over. Central Florida came back. I heard when I got up in the morning on the news, I'm like, wow. I didn't believe that one.
yeah, they was down what 3 touchdowns, right? When they down
Three
21 at one
touchdowns.
time. Yeah,
Yeah,
like
they was
dude,
down 3 touchdowns in that one.
Yeah. All right, let's talk a little bit about your conference, the ACC.
ACC, I had, I believe, Boston College winning the ACC, but I think Miami definitely. I think Miami is a team to beat in the ACC, but I think Louisville was putting a strong pitch in there to put some runs for that AFC. I noticed this year, along with Syracuse. So I think I say it's between Miami and Louisville. I'm gonna go with Miami and Louisville. Just knowing how the ACC is, I know how tough Miami is, especially when we not in the top. Clemson, they in a rebuilding process. I feel not touching the transfer portal, so I feel like Miami and Louisville. I think those would be the teams to slug it out for that ACC. I think Syracuse is good, but not proven enough. And even though I had BC winning, just being logical, I feel that it'd be between those two teams.
Yeah. When I was talking to Justin Geiger, who's a huge Miami Hurricanes fan, he was talking about Louisville and the fact that they go to Louisville this year. And he's actually going to the game. And I was like, man, if I was a Miami Hurricane fan, I would be going to that game too. That's 3 hours away. He's like,
Yeah.
oh man, I wouldn't miss it. But that was a game that he was like, that could be a good contest for us. And he also mentioned Syracuse. He said, Syracuse, man, it's the last game of the season. The weather conditions is going to be a little different because it's in New York. It's in Syracuse. He said, man, we just don't play real well in that cold weather. He
You're
said, now
right.
this team is a team that plays in the cold weather. They're going to be prepared. They're going to be ready. They're going to be in familiar territory. We're
Right.
going to be in a territory that we ain't going to like playing up there in New York in that cold weather. He said, it's a chance that they could pop us.
Wow. I didn't know that. I'm gonna have to keep that in mind. Both of those games, actually.
Yeah.
I didn't look at the Miami schedule.
So that's the two that's so interesting. I got Miami winning
And
it.
then also the ACC, not to forget, let me not forget. I had Duke as my sleeper team, which is 3-0. I'm gonna put Duke and Pitt on watch for my sleeper teams. That- I mean, like you said, you just never know. Depending on how the teams play each other as well, when they play each other, also could be a factor. So I'm gonna just throw those teams in there. Just some teams to watch in the ACC. Definitely Pitt and Duke because they both undefeated right now, along with Louisville and Miami. So also Syracuse as well. So just something to look at. Cal is undefeated, but I don't think Cal or North Carolina would be a team to really, I don't think, put a stronghold on the ACC and that could win it.
Yeah, I think Miami played Duke too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I'm telling you right now, man, if you let any of those receivers get behind you against Duke,
they
that
gone.
Malik Murphy, man, he can throw that ball 1,000,000 yards, bro. And
And
you
he
let
get rid of
anybody
them.
get behind you, he gonna get that rock out there. That's for sure.
Yeah, and I like the way it was funny watching that game with I was watching it when I watched the Kentucky and Georgia game because I thought I just seen the same running plays over and over. And for a minute, I'm like, I know I ain't watching Duke because they got these crazy color helmets. But I don't know why. I just thought about that quick, just thinking
Yeah,
about that.
yeah. What's your thoughts on the Big Ten? Because it's looking a little bit different too now.
Definitely looking a little different. I would say I know we spoke on them. I had OSU, Oregon, then USC, then Penn State as possible playoff teams. But I like, I even for some reason coming into this week because I know Parlay Poe ain't gonna like it, but I got USC over Michigan this week in the Big House, and that's a big statement game for USC coming up. And I just like an OSU, USC in that Big Ten. You got Nebraska out there that's looking good. Definitely Illinois, I think they making waves, and we talked about Indiana. I think that's a team to watch, but definitely a team to see how the test is in a few weeks coming up. And I mean, it's really. I know I picked OSU to win it, but it's kind of another one of them conferences. Any given week, a team could lose, and depending on where you could lose, it could hurt. It could make or break your season in the Big Ten. A lot of conferences seem that way as we get right into the fourth week of the season, but definitely that's a thing to watch to me in the Big Ten.
Yeah, I'm kind of concerned about Michigan and the fact that with Orgy as your quarterback, or now you one-dimensional. You know, are you going to be able to make teams play honest defense against you and not load the box
Yeah,
for your run game? Can he throw enough passes, man, to keep a defense honest when they get out there on the field? And I really don't think so. And I thought
yeah,
that Davis Warren was going to step up after that Texas game. I thought he finished that game strong,
pretty
and I thought
strong.
he
Yeah,
was going to be ready to take over the reins of that team, man. But he didn't. He threw
I
three
agree.
picks against a team that he should have threw three touchdowns
Three
on.
touchdowns rather than 3 picks. I agree. I definitely
Yeah.
agree. I
And
think,
so
and
I'm
I
kind
think,
of concerned about Michigan, man. Michigan might go 7-5, man. I think that's their floor, 7-5. And their
man,
ceiling is probably 9-3, and they got to pray to get to 9-3, I
ready to
believe.
get the 9. Yeah, because I
Yeah,
think I just got a feeling USC, and if they looking to run with Orgy, I noticed with USC so far this season, their run defense is very good,
yeah,
and the coordinator is. I don't know what kind of schemes he got them boys out there running, but they fly into the football as well, and they stuffing the holes at the point of attack, and they can run the ball. So I think that's going to be a definite problem for Michigan this Saturday coming up as well.
yeah, I believe so as well. I'm anxious to see what Nebraska's progression is going to be. I don't think that they're going to be a contender in the Big Ten, but I
Mm-hmm.
do believe that they can make some good strides and be ready for next season to be one of the top teams in the Big Ten.
I
Um,
agree.
I'm anxious to see, is Oregon going to stay on track? You know, they had a good game last week against Oregon State. Are they going to be able to stay on track and be ready for Ohio State? Because they play Ohio State in a couple of weeks in Eugene, and that's going to be a test for them. Because Ohio State going to come and try to bring it to them because they want revenge from when Oregon came a couple of years ago and beat them
Yeah,
here when
yeah,
they had no business beating Ohio State here. You know,
at all. I
Ohio
had no
State
business.
loaded. So
So
I'm
they
anxious to see what Oregon is going to be able to do. I'm really, 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 really disappointed in UCLA. I know that they're one of those schools where they don't get a lot of recruits because the nature of the school is a private school. They don't get a
Mhm.
whole lot of athletes and stuff anymore, especially with NIL because they don't get a lot of NIL money, and things like that. But they're going to have to figure something out. Otherwise, they need to get out of the Big Ten. They don't need to be in there being nobody's doormat.
Yeah, they just gonna get rolled over every week.
Yeah, yeah. All right, well, let's move on to the SEC. What's your thoughts on the SEC?
Whew, that SEC is the SEC. I mean, you got a lot of teams in the SEC that's tough. I mean, I think that's pound for pound best college and best conference in college football this year. You got Texas, you got Alabama, Georgia. Yeah, they look the way they look. So we could say what we say about Georgia. I think in a few weeks, at the end of the day, they still gonna put Georgia up there as being Georgia. But I still like the SEC. You got Tennessee, you got Ole Miss, you got Oklahoma, you got Texas as well and Alabama. And those are teams that's standing stout. And if you put Texas or Alabama right now against a lot of teams, I don't think the SEC is going to lose that game. And as well as the fact that Tennessee is the one team, as well as Tennessee and Ole Miss are two teams that I want to see how they fare once we get a couple more weeks, and I do believe we mentioned about Alabama and Tennessee. They do play each other. That'll be a game to watch, as well as Ole Miss, I think, coming to Alabama in a week or two to play. So just seeing how those games go, I think at that point, the Big Ten will have some of those games as well with the Oregon and Ohio State game, the USC Michigan game coming this week. So we'll be able to see how both of those conferences will fare out. And I think at that point, you could really measure the SEC and the Big Ten because they'll be them played each other a couple times, but also be them played within a conference with the teams that we feel are some of the top teams to where we could have a little more say-so. But right now, I do feel that the SEC is a top conference, with Texas being the team that I like.
For me in the SEC, man, what I don't want to see happen is when those upper echelon teams like you got Tennessee there, you got Alabama there, you got Georgia, you got Texas, you got Ole Miss, you got Missouri. When those teams meet each other, none of them can afford to get blew out.
Right.
It has to be a good, close, hard-fought game.
Yeah.
To get blew out like Kansas State did Arizona, you can't have them kind of victories. Even if you go on the road, you got to make that game close. Otherwise, the SEC is going to look like just another conference.
Another conference.
And then you got, you got South Carolina, Oklahoma, LSU, Texas A&M, all teams who have a lot of talent on them, but you just never know how they're going to play from week in to week out. You don't know what Oklahoma's going to do this week against Tennessee, but it's going to let us know what Tennessee is, and it's going to let us know what Oklahoma is.
So when you say that, I agree too. When you say that, like my thoughts, and another reason I choose that is because everybody came in thinking the Michigan and Texas game, for one, was the game where Michigan would be this major team, and I picked Texas to beat Michigan by 14, and I felt from that game that just showed a difference in the SEC and the Big Ten because, coming into the season, I know it's on paper, and even up until that point in that game, Michigan supposedly, quote unquote, had the best defensive line, and I believe they said had the best offensive line, when it comes to players returning and things like that, to where it would be a problem for Texas. And Texas not only stood up to that challenge, they just put that challenge to the dirt. So, with that being said, I kind of measured it with that, and I feel like Texas could go into that Big Ten, let's just say, and beat a lot of those teams in the same way, because when you asking teams to run the ball, I don't think they can do that against stout defense like that I do see in the SEC this year a lot more of.
Yeah. One thing, two things really. Texas needs Michigan to win games to make that win look good. And Texas also got to continue to put it on teams so that people will say, oh, that Michigan win just Michigan ain't that good. Texas beat up on a team that's not that good. So Texas got to go and do that to everybody else. And they need Michigan to keep on to win games. They can't afford Michigan to go 7-5. Otherwise, people are just going to think, oh, they beat up on a Michigan team that's not that good. But Michigan's defense, man, is still one of the best defenses in the country. They just need some complementary football on the other side.
That's all.
You got to figure that out. They got to figure that out. Yeah. So overall, I'm looking for another weekend of some solid college football, man. I've watched more college football this first 3 seasons than I probably have in a long time. I was just only really watching the Texas game and then watching highlights here and there. I really wasn't watching like whole games.
Yeah, that's the most I done watched in a while. Like I watch a game or two, I'll fall asleep. That first game go off, I fall asleep. But yeah, I'm definitely watching more football now than a little bit. Stats, got my notebook, you name it. This the most I watch, and it's definitely exciting.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So I don't have any else on tonight's broadcast. I'm glad we was able to come on and talk a little bit of college football. We're going to
Same.
do the NFL week 3 tomorrow with all of the games and the spread, the over and under, who's favorite and by how many. And then on Thursday we'll do the same thing for the top games in college football, and we'll go over those games, the spread, who's favorite, who and what the over and under is, and share our thoughts on that. So hopefully, those of you who are watching now can tune in, and those of you who didn't get a chance to catch this video live can catch our next video live when we go live tomorrow at 7:45. Please remember to subscribe to Level Up Sports 10, all one word, Level Up Sports 10, all one word on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to that channel so we can help my man Mossberg grow his channel so that he can be able to continue to put out great content like he already has. He already has several videos up that you can go and watch as he continues to build his channel.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Make sure you follow WTP Sports Dudes on YouTube, streaming on platforms as well. Massive videos, like and subscribe. Content is amazing as well. A lot of good reads. I've been going back through the week, just looking and enjoying what we've been doing and enjoying all the conversations and breakdowns as well.
Cool, cool. Be on the lookout for City League TV. We're going to be pumping out videos soon, watching some of those high school games here in the City League in Columbus, Ohio. So be on the lookout for City League TV coming to you real soon. Not just on Facebook, but also on YouTube coming soon. So without anything else, I appreciate you coming on Level Up Sports 10. Thanks for doing another great show with me tonight.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you having me, WTP Sports Dudes.
All right. Peace.
Peace.